Jennifer Murray was at the controls as she and Quentin Smith ended their flight around the world and entered the record books.
There they all are, the family are there, we're touching down, final touchdown, we're there! Oh boy, wow, what a homecoming.
They'd flown through 26 countries, from the Egyptian pyramids to the Arctic wastes, dodging cyclones in the Far East and raising hundreds of thousands of pounds for Save the Children. Here in the Philippines, they dubbed Jennifer Murray the Flying Grandma. The American manufacturers of their helicopter gave them only a 1 in 5 chance of success.
Okay, give us a wave.
The waves from their cockpit this evening said it all. The first woman to fly around the world in a helicopter, the first British team to complete the trip, and the only pilots ever to do so in a small piston-engine helicopter. On the radio, Quentin Smith was sorry the voyage was ending.
Well, it's great to be back, and we can't really believe it. It's been 3 months, and it's become a bit of a way of life, and it's a shame to have to stop.
On the ground at last, the pair showed their elation.
It's fabulous to be the first, but the challenge of going around the world in this little helicopter, that was the top thing for us. It's been incredible.
Yeah, everybody should do it. I can hardly recommend it. It's the best experience in the entire universe.
Jennifer Murray won't say what her next challenge is, only that she quickly gets restless. George Eakin, BBC News, Denham.
And the main news again tonight. A man will appear in court tomorrow charged with the murder of 5-year-old Dylan Hull, who was shot dead in a Bolton street last week. Newsnights on BBC2 at 10:30, but from the 9 o'clock news, good night.
Hello, good evening. Now the main stories from Look North tonight. A major rescue operation is underway on the east coast this evening to save the lives of hundreds of seabirds. Dozens of birds believed to be from the Bempton Cliff colonies near Flamborough were found covered in crude oil.
From the early hours of this morning, dozens of oiled seabirds have been brought from the shoreline in an operation coordinated by the RSPCA. By tonight, it's expected that more than 200 will have been recovered, the more fortunate struggling onto rocks and sandbanks. Many more will die at sea.
This obviously is a bad spill. It could turn out to be a major spill, but we're hoping it's not. They're quite badly oiled. These are the first birds coming ashore, as is usual in these cases. They are very badly oiled. As the days go by, the birds will be coming ashore with less oil on them, but in very poor condition and a lot more sick and weaker.
Animal welfare specialists must now work swiftly in treating the birds. The more prolonged their trauma, the smaller their chances of survival. The rescue teams will wait until low water tonight before continuing their operation. It's predicted that even more dying birds could be brought in by the tides well into the weekend, and the source of the spillage is still unclear.
The body of a West Yorkshire aid worker who was murdered while on a mercy mission to Hungary has arrived back in England. Michael Buerk, a Christian missionary, was attacked and robbed near Budapest.
Since arriving back in Yorkshire, Jo Pollard has shown amazing strength and courage. Still bearing the scars of last week's violent attack, she returned this morning to the Belden Evangelical Church, supported by her 3 children. It's religion that brought both Jo and Michael into missionary work, a faith which, following his murder, is providing much-needed support.
God is sufficient, and it's him. If I wasn't a Christian, I'd be in pieces on the floor now. You wouldn't be getting an interview at all. I think I'd probably be tucked away in a mental hospital having therapy and things like that.
As Jo Pollard begins her road to recovery, her husband's body has come back to Yorkshire. Following an inquest, a funeral service for a man dedicated to helping others will be held the week after next.
And the funeral has taken place of one of the region's last remaining First World War veterans. Norman Booth, who was 101 years old, was given a military service at a church near Huddersfield. Now, the Sheffield United chairman Mike MacDonald has revealed that it was pressure from supporters that made him appoint Nigel Spackman as the new manager. Spackman was introduced to the media at a news conference earlier today. He's been doing the job successfully since Howard Kendall left. But the new manager was anxious fans shouldn't set their expectations too high.
There's another 20-odd teams looking to get in the Premiership this year as well. So it's a very, very strong league, and it's going to be very difficult to get out of.
And that's it from us tonight. Join us for Look North Saturday, tomorrow at 5:30. Have a good weekend. Let's have a look at the weather with Susan Charlton.
Hello, good evening. The weather is stuck in a bit of a rut for this weekend. In fact, probably well on into next week as well. We've got high pressure just to the east of us, and that's acting as a block to these weather systems coming in from the Atlantic. Now, initially, well out over the ocean, they've got rain with them on the front, shown by the hatched areas, but they dry out and begin to really lose their oomph as they move in towards the high pressure, and that's going to happen again this weekend. We've still got a weakening weather front across Northern Ireland and Scotland at the moment, giving 1 or 2 showers still, but they're really on the way out. And overnight, most areas are coming dry and rather murky and misty, with temperatures dropping down just in towards the teens by tomorrow morning. Now, first thing in the morning, there will be that rather murky weather around, a lot of mist and patchy low cloud and fog as well. Inland, that will soon clear away, dissolving, but certainly around some of the coastal areas in the south and the west, there could be some patches of fog moving on to the coast every now and again. In Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's going to be brighter in the morning, some sunshine around, but it'll be clouding over again, and that cloud by afternoon, certainly by the end of the day, bringing some showery rain in. Showers elsewhere, well, we probably won't see any at all, but there's a very slim chance we could brew up a thunderstorm or a shower somewhere. About a 10% risk, for example, of a storm arriving from France in towards the Channel Islands towards the end of the day. It is going to be another hot day, warmer in Northern Ireland and Western Scotland than today, with something of a strengthening and freshening southerly breeze. Around the other coastal areas where we've got the heat inland, it will be refreshing because of some sea breezes. But because of the lack of wind, we are expecting some poor air quality in southern areas in the Midlands. As for Sunday, a lot of hot and sunny weather around again in England and Wales. This cloud bringing some showers in Northern Ireland and Scotland, clearing away down through the north and the west of England and Wales later in the afternoon. And it may be hot enough to set off 1 or 2 storms further south. The sun, watch out for it this weekend. It will be strong.
Would you invest in a company which has been linked with organised crime? Whose products are smuggled on a breathtaking scale?
These boats literally run like a bus route backwards and forwards.
Where considerable bribes are alleged to have changed hands.
The sums of money involved were huge.
Well, if you've got a pension, you probably already do.
We were dealing not just with smuggling, not just with bribery, we were dealing with murder.
Inside Story examines the association between British American tobacco and the illegal flow of cigarettes to China. Wednesday at 10 on BBC1.
When a neighborly dispute...
Let's just call it even, Lenny. I'll forget it if you do.
I never forget anything, man. Never. Gets out of control.
Oh, nice!
I want to move.
Well, what happened?
You'd better make sure
You want to stop me, man? Lenny, you got to do it man to man.
you know who you're dealing with.
Just keep out of my face!
Next Door, tomorrow at 9 on BBC1.
Commit a murder, collect the life insurance. Couldn't be easier, so why not do it again? Treat Williams is a nasty piece of work in Married for Murder on BBC1 at 11:30. Hacking for the hell of it, first on BBC1, but computer codes can be tricky, even when you're Robert Redford. Big names tread carefully in sneakers.